Let's talk about a fear that most people don't like to admit, but one that keeps many of us awake at night, especially as we grow older. It's not just the fear of dying, it's the fear of dying alone, of lying in a bed, in a quiet room with no one there. No hand to hold, no voice calling your name, just the fading heartbeat and the silence that follows. That image, it terrifies people. And if you're feeling that fear right now, you're not strange and you're not weak, you're human. Many older adults carry this fear deep inside. Maybe you've thought about what would happen if something went wrong during the night, if you fell, if your body gave up, if your breath simply stopped and no one noticed. Maybe you've imagined being found days later. Maybe you've even felt ashamed for thinking these things. But I want to tell you something important. This fear doesn't make you hopeless. It makes you aware. It means your heart still longs for connection, that you still care how you leave this world. That matters. You see, it's not just the fear of physical pain or the unknown that haunts us. It's the emotional pain, the idea of being forgotten, of being just a name on a file, of your life ending quietly, unnoticed, like a book closed in an empty room. That pain is sharp. It's the kind of pain that builds slowly over time, especially if your days have become quieter, if friends have passed, if family is far away, or busy, or drifting. So let's not pretend this isn't real. Let's face it together. This fear of dying alone comes from a deep human need. The need to be seen, to be remembered, to be loved until the very last breath. You might think you're the only one who feels this way, but you're not. In fact, this fear is so common among older people that some experts call it the silent grief of aging, because while the body slows down, the heart still aches for closeness. Here's what I want you to know. Your fear is valid, but it doesn't have to own you. There are things you can do today to bring more connection into your life and more peace into your heart, and we're going to talk about them. But before we get there, let's sit with this feeling for just a moment. Don't push it away. Don't distract yourself. Let's look at it honestly, because only when we name the fear can we begin to loosen its grip. Now here's the truth no one tells you. The fear of dying alone often has less to do with the final moment and more to do with how we're living right now. Loneliness doesn't begin at death. It begins in the long, quiet days that come before it. In the mornings when you wake up and no one says good morning. In the meals you eat at a table for one. In the evenings when the phone stays silent. These are the moments that feed the fear. But here's where you still have power. You can begin to change those moments. You don't need to wait for someone to knock on your door. You can take small, meaningful actions that will bring others back into your life. Slowly, gently, but surely. Let someone know you're thinking of them, even if you haven't spoken in years. A simple message, a short phone call. Sometimes we think people are too busy or won't care, but they often care more than we think, and many are waiting for someone to go first. Join something, anything, that meets regularly. It could be a small class, a walking group, even an online meeting for seniors. It's not about the activity, it's about the rhythm. When people see you regularly, connection grows. Talk to your doctor about a medical alert system, one that can call for help if you fall or feel unwell. This won't erase the fear, but it will give you more control, and that can ease the weight on your heart. Consider writing letters, not emails, real letters. Share your stories, your regrets, your lessons. Leave them for someone you love, or even for a stranger. This may sound simple, but it creates a bridge between your life and someone else's. A thread that connects. You may be thinking, but what if I do all this and still end up alone at the end? I hear you. And it's possible. But here's the shift. Being alone at the end does not mean being unloved. It does not mean your life didn't matter. It does not mean you weren't valuable. What matters is how you live now and how you shape the final chapters of your story. And in that story, you are not invisible. Let's go deeper into this fear, Because for many seniors, it's not just an abstract worry, it's a very specific, vivid image. You see yourself lying in your bed, the light outside is fading, maybe it's evening, maybe it's early morning, and no one is there, no one sitting beside you, no one to say goodbye. The television might be on in the background, but it's just noise. You wonder who will find you, when, and if they'll care. This isn't something dramatic. It's not a scene from a movie. It's quiet, simple, real. And that's what makes it so terrifying. That stillness, that final breath taken with no hand to hold, no voice whispering, "You're not alone." Just the silence. And what hurts even more is the feeling that maybe this is just the way things are now. Maybe your children are too far. Maybe they're too busy. Maybe some relationships have faded or broken. Maybe you've already lost the people who once would have been there. The longer the days go on like this, the more it feels like that lonely ending isn't just possible. It feels inevitable. But here's where we must pause. Not to ignore the fear, not to sugarcoat it, but to say, gently and truthfully, that future is not set in stone. There are still things within your reach, real, simple things that can make a difference, not just at the end, but starting now, with today. The most important shift begins with this, refusing to let fear isolate you even further, because fear of dying alone often leads people to pull back even more, to stop reaching out, to stop trying. They tell themselves, "What's the point?" They start to believe the lie that their life no longer touches anyone, but that's not the truth. That's the voice of fear trying to turn down the volume on your value. Don't let it win. Connection doesn't always come in big, dramatic reunions. Sometimes it comes in a soft hello to a neighbor, a smile at the store, a memory shared with a stranger online. And these small gestures begin to form threads, threads that grow into ties, and ties that grow into bonds. You don't need a full house to feel seen. Sometimes all it takes is one person who checks in, one person who remembers your birthday, one person who asks, "How are you really doing?" But here's the thing, those people don't just show up. You often have to make the first move. That's the hardest part, because it requires vulnerability. It means risking silence. But the reward, even if small at first, is connection. And that's worth the risk. If your body allows, go to places where people gather, even if it's just once a week. A library, a community center, a quiet cafe. You don't have to strike up big conversations. Just be present. People notice, faces become familiar, and one day someone might sit beside you and say, "You're always here on Thursdays, I'm glad to see you." And in that moment you won't be invisible. If you're not mobile, the digital world can still be your window. Senior groups, message boards, online meetups. These are not just for the young. In fact, they may be more important for you, because what they offer isn't just distraction, it's presence, other voices, other people who understand. You don't have to be good with technology, you just need someone to help set it up. After that, it's about showing up, listening, being listened to. Now, let's talk about something more practical, but just as important. Peace of mind. Part of the fear of dying alone is the fear of something going wrong and no one knowing. A fall, a sudden illness, a quiet emergency. And that fear isn't just emotional, it's physical. It sits in your chest. So do something about it. Look into medical alert devices. There are simple ones now that you can wear on your wrist or around your neck. Some detect falls automatically, others let you press a button. These may seem small, but they are life-changing. Not just for emergencies, but for peace. You go to bed at night knowing someone could come if needed. That alone can ease the pressure on your heart. And what about the emotional preparation? You may think about writing a will, planning your estate, putting things in order, not because you're giving up, but because you want control. That's not morbid. That's wisdom. That's saying, I want to make sure my life ends on my terms. And more than that, it allows you to speak your last truths while you're still here. Write down the things you've never said, the forgiveness you've been holding, the love you still carry. Let those things out, because even if you think no one is listening, someone will read them one day, someone will feel them. And finally, remember this: being alone is not the same as being forgotten. You are not forgotten. Your story has meaning. Your presence has value, and even if your final breath comes in a quiet room, what matters most is that you lived fully up to that moment, that you left behind traces of love, of truth, of connection, even if in small ways. You may fear dying alone. That fear may never completely vanish, but what you can do is live in a way that softens it. You can take the fear out of the shadows. You can take back some control. And most importantly, you can remind yourself every day, I am still here, I still matter, and my story is not finished. Let's stay honest. This fear doesn't go away just because we talk about it. For many, it lingers. Some nights, it creeps in stronger than ever. You might find yourself staring at the ceiling, the house too quiet, the ticking of the clock too loud. You remember people you've lost. You wonder who, if anyone, will remember you, and the image comes back. A quiet room, your body still, and the world going on without you. That picture isn't easy to shake. It hurts because it's not just about death. It's about being erased. But here's something that might surprise you. Your fear, as deep as it feels, is also a sign of something beautiful. It means you want to be remembered. It means you still long for meaning, for love, for connection. And that longing is a sign that your spirit is very much alive. Even if your body feels slower, even if your days feel quiet, that longing means something in you still burns. So the question becomes, how do we feed that spark, even when we fear the dark? One of the most powerful ways to fight this fear is to create something that lives beyond you. Not in a grand, dramatic way, but in small, human ways. Write your memories, share your lessons, tell someone what you've learned about love, about regret, about joy. The world is full of noise, but what it's starving for is wisdom. And you have that. You've lived it. Don't underestimate how powerful your words can be to someone who needs them, even years from now. Your story, told in your voice, could be the light someone else finds in their darkest moment. And don't forget, your presence still matters now. If you're able, reach out to someone younger. Ask them about their life. Listen, not as someone who's trying to teach, but simply as someone who cares. That kind of attention is rare, and it creates bonds. It leaves marks. Even if they don't say it right away, people remember how you made them feel. Now let's go back to that image. You, lying alone. If that moment ever comes, I want you to remember this. Being alone is not the same as being unloved. Not everyone gets to pass with family holding their hand. Not everyone gets a room full of visitors. But that doesn't mean their life lacked value. It doesn't mean they weren't cherished. What defines a meaningful life isn't how it ends, but how it's lived. With presence, with care, with dignity. And there's one more truth that's often forgotten. You may not see the people you've touched, but they are there. The neighbor who remembers your kindness, the child you once comforted, the friend who carries a piece of your wisdom. These connections don't disappear, they ripple quietly forever. If the fear gets too loud, come back to the present, light a candle, hold something meaningful in your hands, a photo, a letter, a book. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, I am here, I am safe, I have today. That's more than many ever get. And within this day, you can still create beauty. You can still laugh, still remember, still reach out. And please don't hesitate to ask for help. There is no shame in needing company, in needing reassurance. Reach out to a support group, a therapist, a friend, a spiritual leader. Say what you feel out loud. Because when pain is spoken, it loses its power. And when fears are shared, they shrink. In the final chapters of life, the most courageous thing you can do is keep showing up. Keep loving, keep creating, keep connecting. Not because it will erase death, but because it makes life more vivid, more full, more yours. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. And you are not alone in this fear. Many others carry it too, in silence, in shame. But today, you faced it. You gave it a name. You looked it in the eye. And that is no small thing. If the day comes when you find yourself in a quiet room, know this: the love you gave will still be out there. The kindness you offered will still live in someone's memory, and even in that silence, you will not truly be alone. Because the life you lived, with its laughter, its pain, its truth, it mattered, and it always will.